Morning everyone and welcome to today's maths lesson. You did some brilliant work on kilometres and kilograms yesterday, and today we're going to be moving on to looking at the word milli in millimetres and millilitres. Please make sure you've got everything ready. We're going to begin with a countdown and also a flashback for today, so please have a really good go at those. And it's been fantastic once again to see you submitting your entries for those into Seesaw. So people who have solved the countdown, absolutely amazing. And the flashback 4 is back today. So yesterday we had a look at the word kilo and we understood that the word kilo is a representative of 1,000. So kilometre is 1,000 metres. Kilogram is 1,000 grams. So I'm just going to quickly recap that by popping some on the board for you to have a quick go at. Okay, here we go. So if you just pause the video then and have a quick look at these, remembering that our skill set was applying our multiplying and dividing by 1,000. Super, so hopefully you've had a chance to have a go. So 4 kilometres multiplied by 1,000 gives us 4,000 metres. 7.4 kilograms, so we're going to multiply that again by 1,000 to get the grams, and that would be 7,400 grams. 45 metres in kilometres, this was a bit of a tricky one. So metres into kilometres we divide by 1,000. So the answer is going to be, it's quite tricky this one, 0.045 kilometres. So remember, 1,000 metres is 1 kilometre, so this is much less than 1,000, so it's going to be much less than 1 kilometre. 712 grams, so we're going to divide by 1,000, is 0.712 kilograms. Remember again, 1,000 grams would be 1 kilogram. 712 is less than that, so it must be less than 1 kilogram. So that makes sense. Right everybody, so today we're going to be having a look at the prefix milli. We see milli before metres and litres to make millimetres and millilitres. Milli is represented by an M, a small m, and millimetres would be represented like so, and millilitres, capacity, would be represented like this. So milli actually means a tiny part of the metre or litre, and actually it is 1,000th of that. So we could see it represented like this or as a fraction like this. So if you are looking at a millimetre, we are looking at 1,000th of a metre. There are 1,000 millimetres in 1 metre. Equally, there are 1,000 millilitres in 1 litre. So these are the really important conversions to remember today. So similarly to kilos, we can work out and convert between these two units of measurement by multiplying or dividing by 1,000. However, the difference today is that a milliliter or a millimetre is much smaller than the metre or litre. So when we're converting, we convert the other way round. This will become clear in a second. Okay, so let's have a think about this bar model then. We know that in every 1 litre, we have 1,000 millilitres. So to go and include this in our bar model, we would need to, for every litre that we have, write 1,000 millilitres. And this time we've got 5 litres. And so we've got 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 millilitres. So 1 litre equals 1,000 millilitres, 5 litres equals 5,000 millilitres. So to go between our amount of litres to our amount of millilitres, we are doing what operation? Excellent, we are multiplying by 1,000. So your amount of litres, if you multiply it by 1,000, we understand how many millilitres that there are. So we can apply this to lots of different ones. For example, 15 litres. How many millilitres would that be? Multiply it by 1,000 would be 15,000 millilitres. I'm going to give you a tricky one now. So 20.7 litres. Multiply by 1,000. Excellent, that gives us 20,700 millilitres. So let's just have a quick look at the other way around then. Okay, so I've just written up those conversions at the top to remind me that 1,000 millilitres are in a litre, 1,000 millimetres are in a metre. And this time on my bar model I've been given the millimetres. So it's metres this time, so length rather than capacity, but it doesn't matter, it could have been either. It still means the same amount within the capacity, within the larger amount. So this is 3,000 millimetres, and we know that for each of those that is the same as 1 metre this time. So it would be the same as 3 metres in total. So when we're converting between millimetres to metres or millilitres to litres, how am I getting from millimetres to metres? What conversion, what operation am I doing? Fantastic, we're dividing by 1,000 this time. So once you have your millilitre or millimetre amount, we divide it by 1,000 to get our amount in metres or litres. For example, 784 metres. So this is less than 1,000, so my answer is going to be less than a metre. That's a big clue there. Excellent, divide by 1,000, that would give me 0.784, that should be millimetres there, sorry. 0.784 metres, sorry I should have put millimetres there. And let's give you another one for millilitres. What about this one then? 89 millilitres. Still got to divide by 1,000, because remember 1,000 millilitres is a litre. This is going to be much smaller, and it would be 0.089 litres. So when you're converting from millimetres or millilitres to litres or metres, we're dividing by 1,000 this time. So I'd like you to have a go at the first page now and see how you get on. Okay, so the second set of questions is more about applying your knowledge of not only millimetres and millilitres, but also a little bit of kilometres and kilograms as well from previous lessons. So it's about bringing everything together now. There's a question a little bit like this. So little girl wants to go on the ride. Let's say this is Fliss, and she is 1,024 millimetres tall. But to go on the Dracula experience, she needs to be 1.1 metres tall. That's the regulation. So is she tall enough to go on the ride? What would we need to do? First of all, we need to make the millimetres into metres. So 1,024 divided by 1,000. So that means that Fliss is actually 1.024 metres tall. So is that big enough to go on the ride? Actually, no, it isn't, because this is 1.0 in the tens column. She's less than 1.1 metre tall. So actually, no, Fliss can't go on because she's actually a little bit too short to go on the ride. So it's all about, when you've got questions that are in mixed measures, make them into the same measurement before you try to answer a question. So either make them both into metres. We could have done it the other way around. You could have made your metres into millimetres by multiplying by 1,000, and that's how tall she needed to be, 1,100 millimetres. Doesn't matter which way around you do it, whatever's easiest for you, but always try to make the measurements the same unit, otherwise it can get really confusing. And finally, bringing in all of our skills from measurement so far, we have questions a little bit like this, where we have to use again our comparative signs to compare these two amounts. So 4/5 of a kilometre, is that larger or smaller than 840 millimetres? So they're in two completely different units of measure, but we can make them both into metres quite easily. So first of all, I'm going to make my millimetres into metres by multiplying by 1,000. So that means that this is the same as 0.84 metres. And now I want to make my kilometres into metres, which is the learning we were doing yesterday. So it's quite tricky at the moment, because but remembering that kilometre means 1,000, so I need to work out 4/5 of 1,000. So I could do that by dividing my 1,000 by 5, which is 200, and then multiplying by 4. So this is the learning from last week. You see how it's all coming together now? And that would be 800 metres. So which would be bigger? Trick question really, isn't it? Because of course 800 metres is much bigger than 0.84 metres, so we would need to use that sign. So sometimes they are slightly tricky because of the unit of measurement. So we've got to remember that millimetres are tiny. Metres, there's 1,000 millimetres in a metre, and then there's also 100 sorry, there is also 1,000 metres in a kilometre, so kilometres are huge. Okay, and then of course we have centimetres, which we'll talk about those tomorrow. Actually, they're coming tomorrow. Okay, so have a really good go at that, guys. Remember, don't be confused by the numbers. Just don't be confused by these units. These will come. Look, if you misread that as metres, this is the tricky bit. You would think that this is bigger, but because it's millimetres, in metres it's only this, so actually this one is much bigger. So be really careful, don't let those units of measure trick you. Well done everybody with unit fractions multiplied by integers today. I'd like you to make sure you've got a different coloured pen or pencil either on Seesaw or in your exercise book, and I'd like you to have a look at the following slides for the answers. Please remember, big smiley face if you're correct, but please do see if you can spot and correct any errors as well.